however you identify is how you're going to be treated in this music industry. So if you want to be a sample maker who just gets paid work for hire, flat fees, you're always going to be a worker. If you want to be somebody who like a split mind or something like this, where it's a group of people, or like a Taz Taylor or something like this, where he manages a bunch of loop makers, that's a manager. If you want to be an entrepreneur, how do you be a BeatStars and bring all those people to your platform?
Let's be honest, you're not gonna find these videos anywhere else. Why? Because I make them. So it would really help me out if you subscribe. If you've already subscribed, what also really helps is if you like the video and leave a comment. It's hard in the era of clickbait videos on YouTube and negativity in the producer community. And I appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
This is the power of branding. Bufo showed up so much that I picked him first out of everybody, just from him showing up in my lives all the time. So just let me know if you guys can hear it. If not, I'll correct whatever it is. Correct. Can you hear that?
Yeah, sounds good too.
Okay, cool. Shout out to Bufo on the beat from Sparta, New Jersey. Let's go. So I'm just trying to grab a vibe. Like, what do I feel when I hear this? I feel sad. Okay, so I go guitar, bell. Here's what I do when I get a loop. Emotion, and then what's in the beat, how do I build around that? So that has guitar, bell, and a sad. We have guitar, vocal, sad. Bufo must be depressed making these. Oh, poor Bufo. Okay, we have bass, vocal. Okay. I like that. Okay, but the only issue with bass is it dictates the groove. So let's start building. Let's show you guys some stuff. I'll show you guys how to quickly flip loops in FL and even how to change it to make it your own. So let me save this on my projects and we'll get straight to it. I'll just show you guys FL Studio secrets along the way. So if you're FL gang, shout out to you guys. Again, I can't see the chat. Actually, yeah, I can. Never mind. I'll make it to where I can see the chat. Okay, let's just drag this into FL. So the first thing I do with loops, most people just use a loop the way it is. We're at, what is this, 103 BPM? Bufo would have something at 103 BPM. Who in the world makes beats at 103, Bufo? I'm going to get you.
I did 101 last night for the record.
101. So the first thing I'm going to do is switch the BPM, because who in the heck? Okay, so to switch the BPM, first thing I do, I look at the BPM of the loop. I match it with the project. Then if you're going to use a lot of audio, just go to your tools, macros, switch all audio clips to real-time stretching. And what this will do is I can now change the BPM basically. What it did behind the scenes, if you double click, it changed the mode to stretch mode. So you don't have to go in and re-stretch everything every time you change the BPM. So now I can put it to a real BPM like 120. And then let's go to song mode. Okay, cool. Now, the next technique I'm going to show you requires that you go back to the original BPM, because what we're going to do is slice this up and then time stretch each slice. So the way you do this is you just double click, open up your sample, right click the sample and open in new Fruity Slicer channel. It will open up the loop in a Fruity Slicer. Now from here, to take it to a different level, grab your slice tool, go to beat mode, and then you can actually stretch the whole sample. So now when you play the samples, here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. You got to hear it to understand it. Let's crank this up. So here's what it sounds like by default. You know the Boy Wonder type sound, the Wonder Girl sound, where it's like do di da boot di, like that. This is what it does. So let's go to pattern mode. Now the problem you might get is clicks and pops. If you get clicks, pull up your attack knob to get rid of any clicks. So that's how that Drake and all them, that's how they get the sound. They run stuff through Fruity Slicer and chop it up per beat. And then they re-time stretch it. So you can do this for 21 Savage, Drake, Wonder Girl stuff, Boy Wonder, you name it, J. Cole. Oh, I cranked this up a little too hard. Okay, so what I'm gonna do from here is pull up the decay. I just want you to hear this. What this does is it fades out the sample per slice. So now you're gonna get that, started from the bottom now, yeah. Started from the bottom, got the old teeth, or whatever he said. Okay?
That's what he did. That's what Zombie used, because there were clicks there, so he didn't mess with the attack too much. I think maybe probably because he liked the way it sounded. It sounded like an old school sample chop.
Right. See, Zombie on the track. That's Zombie on the track.
Yep, and Zombie on the track actually, like a year before that dropped, he tweeted me saying that he was watching my videos and they help. I was like, oh shit, they really help.
Yeah, look, make it hit.
Something. I mean, he did it. I'm not taking credit for him signing with OVO, but Anjanette saying bring him on here. He has not replied to any messages I've sent him. I imagine when you signed to Drake, things get a little busy for you.
Shout out to Zombie. Yeah, see, I don't know all the industry folks. I'm still meeting them. There's a lot of people I'm still meeting. Shout out to him, though. But yeah, that's how he got that. Okay, or you can pull down what's called the time stretch knob, which will make the sample go faster per slice. So that's how you get that sped up sound. Okay, but we're not going to do either of those. I just wanted to show that to your audience, just so they understand where that sound comes from. So what I'm going to do is time stretch it, making the sample even longer per slice. So now we're kind of distorting it to make our own loop. So you can't recognize that it came from Bufo. Now from here, you want to pitch it up. Let's pitch it up. Like I like to mess with 300 cents at a time. I'm going to pitch this up an octave since it's mostly bass. Okay, not the coolest pitched up. Let's reset. Okay, but that's how you do it. Even time stretches sounds weird. So let's keep it normal. All you got to do from this point is just draw out the pattern. And that's pretty simple. So let's just drag the pattern in. You can go to your pattern mode and rechange anything. So if you don't want a specific slice to occur at that time, you can remix it by just adding a different slice at that specific point. Everything's measured to the beat, so you can mix and match as much as you want. So let's say I want to do like, instead of that ending, I need like a dun dun. Hold on. Hopefully he has the notes in here. It's kind of hard to hear the notes. See how I just changed up the sample? So that's how you can do it. And this is what a lot of top producers do, because you got to remember, these guys are on time crunches. They don't have time to come up with melodies from scratch. So when you guys send these pro producers or industry producers loops, they are literally trying to save time. And this is how they manipulate your loops to create their own sound without just copying and pasting. Because if you send your loops to Boy Wonder and then you sent it to, Big Head at the same time, they could potentially use the same loop for the same song and get into a lot of conflict. But this is why a lot of a lot of industry producers will do this, because they can avoid that kind of everybody getting the same loop thing. So this is what they do. Okay, so let's build around this. Let's do 8 bars. For those who are struggling with arrangement, I like to build with 8 bars and then expand from there. If we have enough time to talk about arrangement, I'll get into it. But arrangement is really just having an intro, hook, and a verse. You really don't need all this other stuff. Oh, yeah, I got inside jokes. Okay, so let's. Oh, here's another powerful thing. If you guys have the confidence, because it took me a long time to record on my own stuff. Record your voice in your beat. This is where I would at least do it on my phone. I'm going to record my voice so that I don't overfill the beat. Because what happens is with sound selection, we tend to pick all these sounds because we don't have a vocal there. So instead of grabbing a random acapella, I don't want to build around somebody else's groove. It goes back to the intent that me and DJ Payne One talked about. You need to create intent for your track. So here's where I'm creating my intent. Let's record to the metronome so I can stay on beat. And let's just make up words. Know what free now. Ain't nothing but your beat now. Can't no lie to you nothing. They Einstein. Tell me which that you need now. Big ain't on but I'm free now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Nobody ain't resolved at all. In a real like this. When I'm in the eye, when I feel like this. Oh, in a air like this. When the time I want it feel like this. Oh. So see how I switched it up? That's arrangement. So all I have to do now is just copy this and just change something about it to where it fits that change up thing that I just did naturally. My brain needs resolution. It needs variety, I meant to say.
Speaking of resolution, my brain is trying to resolve why this feels like an OVO session with Party Next Door doing a dancehall track for Drake.
Speaking of Zombie, right? Zombie on the track. I just need his tag. Oh, I forgot to grab Bufo's tag. My fault, Bufo. Let me grab his tag. Okay, so a lot of, just side note, a lot of film score opportunities don't like beat tags. So beat tag thing is really only like for hip hop. A lot of people will tell you to take the tag out. So I'm glad you guys separate the tag from your loops. So the next step is finding the key. Now let's figure out, since we have those musical elements in play, what key are we in? So scalar 2 is a great option. I like to use my favorite tool for this. I'm just gonna play the notes that I hear, and then we're gonna figure out the key. Let's record that. So we're in C sharp minor, kind of an odd key. But what I'm gonna do now is load up my vocals into auto-tune. Let's hit Control L to send stuff to the mixer. Okay, so you guys got to be like Kanye. Why do we love Kanye? He's a producer and an artist. Why do we love Timbaland? He's a producer and an artist. Why do we love, who else is a producer artist? T.I., I think, produces. Who else produces? I'm trying to go off the top of my head. Kanye, who else? I'm missing somebody. Oh, Pharrell. We love those guys because they are both Dre, thank you, Dr. Dre, Eminem, Russ. That's why we love them. They're producer / artists. So this is a way, J. Cole, Missy Elliott, T-Pain. So this is a way you can become your own artist for the time being. Okay, so let's load up auto-tune. We have it on low latency, and then we put it at C sharp minor, which is the key that we had. So now we're gonna get our Drake on. Travis Scott. George Clinton. But you beat down. Sound out of key. I feel like I'm missing a key. C sharp minor. It might just be because man, I picked the wrong key. Let's do this again. Hold on, we're gonna figure this out. Oh, that's why.
Tell me what you need now. Big ain't on, but I'm free now. Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Okay, so my voice is
in the real like this. When I'm in the when it feel like this. Oh, in the air like this.
Kind of in between the low mel setting and the other one above it. So my voice is kind of doing its own thing. Okay, but now we have that in place. We're not going to overly produce. First thing I like to do with the vocals is chop out the lows, because if I hit my desk, I have a lot of background thuds. So I'm just going to cut out everything below about 80, just to get rid of the rumble from my desk. So really, Bufo has the bounce in the actual loop, so we don't need to do much. We just need to make sure that we're not ruining his groove. So let's use the Metro kit. People love Metro. Did you know that? They love Metro. So let's open a Metro's
kit.
I've
heard that.
I think I've heard. So this is Lunch 77. Shout out to Lunch 77. This guy is just the savior of the producer community, in my opinion, because he made everybody have to create unique stuff. That's my take on it. Shout out Lunch 77. So let's right click, add in these drums. We're gonna fill each 2 steps to get started. Now we're at 103 BPM. We're probably gonna crank it up. But until then, and I have to ask, why don't I like the hi-hat? It's too early. So the number one thing you guys struggle with when it comes to amateur beats is your groove is too tight. So to lighten it up, go to your wrench tool, go to time shift, pull this up a little bit. That will let your hi-hat relax in what's called a pocket. But you beat down. So now I'm going to go back and add ad-libs, only because I'm obsessive and I want to hear myself through auto-tune this time around. So let me do that same cadence, but through auto-tune this time, so I can actually hear myself. I might do a better take, I might do a worse take, you never know. Sometimes your first take is your best take. You can be super emotional, even if you have background noise, keep the take that's the most emotional. Most people scrap it for a cleaner mix. Sometimes that emotional mix is all you need. You don't need. Okay.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Okay, so now I'm just gonna fill in. Not gonna do a whole verse.
But you beat down. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Tell me what you need now. Big ain't on, but I'm free now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Nobody ain't responding. Oh, in the real like this. When I'm in the eye, when I feel like this. Oh, in the air like this. When you're the time that what it feel like this. Oh.
Okay, so the reason I'm doing vocals is because we're gonna use vocals in this beat. So let's open up let's double click, right click, open in Fruity Slicer. Do the same thing. Now, this time we're not gonna slice by the beat. we're going to slice by what's called the transient information. And I'm going to pitch it up. Oh, wrong knob. I meant to do the pitch knob. Oh, you know, I was like, why does it sound like that? It auto mapped. I forgot to record it into. Let me see. I recorded the effects, so it should be auto tune. Either way, we don't need the actual track. Okay, so I'm doing all this because we're going to create vocal chops. Now, it would probably be better if I had an actual vocal range that sounded like a like higher. Stuff like this. So you don't need to know what I'm saying. It's just. Tell me which. You can't get this in the synth, so that's why I recommended doing this. Okay, I'm just gonna add that. Dun, dun, dun. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. 2, 3. But you beat down. Ain't no lie to you nothing. Tell me which you need now. Big ain't on but I'm free now. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Nobody ain't responded. Oh. Okay, so you can't hear it because it was a little tucked, but it's okay. Everything doesn't need to be pronounced. So at the ending, I did a little change. So it's like that. Let me solo. Now, if you want to get crazy, you could add reverb. Most people I've heard use Valhalla because of Mixbus TV. So let's load up Valhalla Vintage Verb. It's pretty affordable. It's like $50. Okay, but notice how much the vocal is the beat. So if you like, there's a guy, is it Kavi? Forgive me for not pronouncing his name right. He has an X in his name. I always pronounce it wrong.
Yeah, Kavi, yep.
Kavi. Yeah, he's on a roll right now. And he's producing with his voice. You know, there's Cold Illumination from waves.com, WAVS.com. And there's somebody else that's George Lucas, I think?
Gabe Lucas.
Gabe. Oh, you know Gabe Lucas?
Yep. I know everybody. That's not true. I don't. But I know them. I know like the really talented loop makers and Kavi, Dilly, Gabe Lucas, Moonbird, Memory. All of those people are. I mean, some of them are actual like real life friends.
Wow, I don't even know Moon. You got to put me on to the other good folks.
Moonbird is amazing. Memory's my best friend. He just got nominated for a Grammy for a loop that he made. So yeah, life is good for these loop makers. Man.
Life is good. Yeah, it's so incredible.
Shut up,
George Lucas. Yeah, they're so good with their vocals. It's scary. I have a loop real quick, not to sidetrack us, but it's just so. I just need people to hear their talent. Like this is where I put it. I don't even know where I put it. I'll find it in a second. Hold on. Here's Cold Illumination, for example. I just want to put people on to like how godly.
Yeah, let's try to get Kavi and Gabe up here.
Yeah, I'm gonna DM them after this. So I just want to show people this is where your loops need to be. Like the first 2 seconds you hear it, it's crazy. Okay, they use a lot of vocals. This is my point. So now we're getting the groove of the beat. What else do we need? We need kick, snare. Okay, just ask yourself, do you need a clap or do you need a snare? Most people add claps in the beats and they're wondering why their beat sounds like super not hitting. It's because you're using a clap. Like when I clap my hands, do I sound threatening? No, they clap in church. When you hit a snare drum, that scares people. So you got to use that same mentality. So is a snare, but is a clap. So snare, clap. Oh, that snare sounds hard. Okay, so I'm going to use a lighter snare for bounce, and then I'm going to use a. So sound selection is like 99% of the battle. If you guys have the wrong samples, you're going to be running loops for days. So buy those drum kits you hear on BeatStars. If you like somebody's style, buy their drum kit. because they're going to give you their curated sound. So you don't have to waste time trying to figure out which snare number 85 they use. Okay, so we're at 103 BPM. So it's a little bit different with the bounce. So I'm going to do boom, clap, 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 clap. That clap analogy. Again, we're not in the pocket, so let's time shift the snare. Well, that was dirty. I did that by accident. But the second snare I left out. So we're putting the snare on what's called the 2 and the 4. If you don't know how to count music, turn on your metronome. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. But I omitted the 4, so it sounds hard. That was an accident, but it sounds fire to me. So 1. And that's only because that bass does doom, doom, doom. It overrode. Where's my snares? I forgot we're not in double time, so I'm drawing everything double by accident. Okay. Okay, I just messed up a little rhythm. Okay, so now we have the light snare. Now we can go.
Another mistake. That mistake sounded dope. And also, hopefully, Clyde Stubblefield's family is getting the money for these. The Clyde Stubblefield story. I met him. He lived and died in my city, and so there was. It was a tragic. It is a tragic story, and I hope that at least in death, there's some kind of justice when it comes to him being paid for his work, because he certainly was not given what he deserved for damn near inventing hip hop music in a lot of ways.
Oh, I was gonna say, see, I was like, I didn't know his whole story, so I was like waiting for the punchline. Oh, if he's like the key of hip hop, then dang, funky.
Well, like his breaks created the groove of hip hop, of rap music, I should say, not necessarily hip hop, to an extent, but like there were a lot of other drummers and bands that created, like breaking and what people were dancing to. But in terms of production, in terms of rap music, Funky Drummer, a lot of breaks that he played, just James Brown in general.
Oh,
that it was so heavily sampled, he just wasn't getting paid for it because he was work for hire. So
yes, the business. That's why DJ Payne 1 is here. You guys got to, realize that the business is different. It's very different. There's 3 tiers. You're either a worker, a manager, or an entrepreneur. However you identify is how you're going to be treated in this music industry. So if you want to be a sample maker who just gets paid work for hire, flat fees, you're always going to be a worker. If you want to be somebody who like a split mind or something like this, where it's a group of people, or like a Taz Taylor or something like this, where he manages a bunch of loop makers, that's a manager. If you want to be an entrepreneur, how do you be a beatstars and bring all those people to your platform? So you got to start thinking bigger, basically. Okay, so let's add this secondary snare. I feel like that snare comes in early, so let's bring it in over here. 1, 2. Like Lil Wayne said, let the beat build. Okay, so that's arrangement. We're bringing in stuff over time. Figured it out. Not chains in the ain't figured it out. Ain't 2 chains, I'm digging it out. I feel the craze in the shit. Run like the bars in the shit. So you see how there's a groove? So what do we need? We need a kick or an 808. I would say kick more than we need an 808. I feel like this track doesn't even need an 808. So Bufo, I almost said bootbox. Beatbox like Timbaland. You guys aren't working off of intent. If you listen to what your brain's trying to do versus what you click into the computer, they're 2 different things. And that's why your beats don't sound the way you want them. So I'm going to beatbox first and then draw that pattern in. Most of you guys start with drawing and you're like, it's not matching what your brain wants. So, okay, so let's beatbox a little bit. Now I'm going to record as I beatbox because I'm used to it. Save time here. Let's record notes and automation. And I'm going to play the comma on my keyboard. You can also go to options, typing keyboard to piano to do the same exact thing. So now when I go, I'm going to press the comma on my keyboard. 1, 2. So. might change up the endings. It's a little experimental with the doop, 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 the ending. Let's hit Alt-Q to quantize the notes. Okay, now here's the biggest mistake I used to make as a beginner. My kicks and stuff were too quiet. Let's go to the pre-computed effects on the front. Let's boost this kick up. Just don't be afraid to turn up your kick and your snare. Now remember, we're not in the pocket, so let's go to the wrench tool, turn up time shift. Now what else do we need? Let's figure it out in our head. I feel like we need some kind of sub bass. But tell me something when you own it. So here's where I'm gonna go, and before I start overly filling the beat, I gotta double check with auto-tune. With auto-tune, all things are possible. That's a Bible quote, I think. All things are possible through auto-tune. So go into auto-tune, record something, and we're gonna build the bass around this. So I'm gonna record real quick. And you need when you find me, I stand up and when you find me. Girl, you know you are when you hear some. But you know you looking at my income. And I said it with a family. And where you found me. Got a lot on this song. Got a lot of surplus. When I rap, me feeling this. Got ice in it, dots, and I'm feeling the drip. I keep two in the tank, but I'm feeling the sticks. I got one in the tank, like, you know, this. I need a couple more cheese for a lot of that. It ain't for the body back. First see, I'm so cool, I brought Prada back. Iced out chain on the wrist, like water cast. Can't even figure it out. Okay, so I got the gist.
You do this a lot.
Yeah, I got the gist. I'm not gonna go in like 1,000 times. But so you got the gist. You have the singy part. Thank you. Singy part, rap part. Okay, this is mumbly, but this is what pro songwriters do. I've seen a guy, he's a master songwriter. He just mumbles stuff and then comes up with words after it. Rico Love is another person who does this. Rico Love is crazy. He'll be in the studio for 8 hours.
Another person that's from my state.
He's from, doesn't he have conferences?
I believe he did. He's from Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, okay. Because he has conferences in like a random city. I'm like, why does he have conferences in the most random city? I guess he's from there then. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, he'll literally go word for word and just write a song where it's insane for 8 hours straight. His engineer is like, understands his brain though. Okay, so now you understand there's two sides to this track. When you find me, I stand up and when you find me. Girl, you know you are when you hear some. But you know you looking at my income. And I said it with a family. Yeah, I'm trying to find where you found me. Got a lot on. I thought I had an EQ on one of these tracks. Got a surface. When I rap, me feeling this. Got ice in. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of fast forward a lot of stuff. Basically, if you want your track to hit and you don't know why, just add a clipper to your track. This is specifically T-Rack's classic clipper. This is how Decap gets that rumbly 808, that rumbly kick. It's because it's going through a clipper. When you find me. Nice. So now it's taking that bass and like going, it adds like a type sound to it. When you find me. Nice down and when you find. Now the question is, what needs reverb? I forgot we had a reverb here because I was going on tangents. But the vocal chop just needs a little reverb. You know, we're not going to sit here and mix the whole thing because I want to make sure we get to as many people as possible. I just got to find the vocal chop track, which is on 4, and then send it to the reverb. To send sounds to a reverb, just left click the up arrow at the bottom. When you find me, I stand up and when you find me. Girl, you know you are when you hear some. But you know you looking at my income. And I said it with a family. The beat's done. Where you found me. Now we'll do sub bass, but got a lot of surface. Actually, it does need a little sub bass. Okay, for sub bass, open up 3x OSC. I'm going to move a little bit faster. Turn down the volume for oscillators 2 and 3. Pull down your coarse pitch so that you're in really low frequencies. And just go to your wrench tool, turn up mono mode. So now when you play notes, it won't overlap. And let me just make sure I'm in the right key. When you find me, I stand up. Okay, and then just go down on your keyboard. You probably can't even hear those. And just figure out what notes work. So boom. It's just hard for me to hear. When you find me, I stand up and when you find me. Girl, you know you are when you can't even hear it, so it doesn't matter for this video's sake. But that's the process. So let's move even faster. Now that you know all the fundamentals, let's pick at least 2 more loops and make something around it. But this is how pro producers do this stuff fast. I kind of broke it down into like a masterclass, I guess.
When you found me,
I'll play it once and then we'll move to the next beat. So I'm gonna go to the folder.
when you found me, I stand up when you find me. Girl, you know you are when you feel some. Girl, you know you looking at my income. And I said I would've found me. Where you found me? Gotta look on this sun. Gotta let surface. When I ride, me feeling this. Got ice in it, guys, and I'm feeling the drip. I keep 2 in the chamber, feeling the sticks. I got 1 in the thing, like, you know, this. I need a couple more cheese for a lot of that. It ain't for the body back. First see, I'm so cool, I brought Prada back. Iced out chain on the wrist, like white cast. Can't even figure it out.
Okay. Okay, so the beat was kind of already done with the loop. The groove was already established. So Bufo is just really good at music to understand that. Let's open up another project. What was I going to tell you? Okay, so it's really important you guys label. I'm glad you guys had the system to submit here because this is a good practice for life. Put your name on the actual file. I can't tell you how many times people will upload to the website. It'll have all the metadata. And then when you download the file, it just says the name of the loop and then the BPM. The problem is pro producers, they make so many beats, you kind of forget who's who. So they go back to a project and like, dang, who made this beat? Who made the loop? I forgot. And so it's very important you put your name on the actual loop. And I would say put the name first so that people don't forget. Okay, so let's open up a new track. Give me a second. Checkity check. Okay, we're good on levels. So I'm gonna move quicker here because we have until, is it 4 p.m. Eastern time?
Yeah, we got 45 more minutes.
All right, so I'm gonna move light speed, but I'm gonna show you guys quick little cheat sheets you could do. So that's that. So that track could easily go off to the OVO camp very easily, or whoever is in that pocket of sound. I'm just saying OVO as a reference. Okay, so let's see who else. So I'm gonna close my eyes and pick a loop because I don't know the rest of y'all folks. So we're gonna land on the top of the screen, which is nobody. Okay. Bora looks like he's next. Very experimental. I don't know if I can flip that. All right, this guy loves sound design. Okay, we can work with this. Now, the experimental stuff, gotta be careful sending that off, only because it's just hard to come up with an idea. Okay, let me zoom in real quick. It looks like, here, let me double check before I speak on this. Okay, I guess MP3 was the required, never mind. So I was gonna make a little comment, but forget my little comment.
But the sample, just keep there's sample side, there's samples space.
Sample space.
Which is silence.
Oh, right.
So sample time, yes. Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, so in the case that you grab a lot of MP3s from a lot of producers, grab your slip tool in FL, hit Alt, and just left click to drag this so it starts on the downbeat. So you don't have to chop it and move it. That way you can start on the actual downbeat. That's why I had to delay all the sounds. But I'm glad I didn't notice that in the beginning because it created a better pocket. But so now we're going to be in the group.
I feel like when I'm planning on getting a new computer and just kind of like slowly incorporating it into my life. Maybe I'll get like a FL trial and an Ableton trial and just see which one. Because I learned a lot today, and I learned a lot watching my Ableton friends use Ableton. I got to switch to one of the two. I don't know which one. I thought it was going to be Ableton. After today, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you stand out because you use the program that you use. But to each his own. Sample beats go crazy. I was looking up Jay-Z beats, and I was like, everybody's beats were just lackluster. And I'm like, I can only trust DJ Payne One sound with Rick Ross. Your Rick Ross and Jay-Z beat popped up. Like, I can't trust everybody's quality. Because I was freestyling.
Thanks for the gem, because I need to start using YouTube Studio Analytics more with their new features, their new research tools. So I already found some stuff that I'm going to implement.
Sick. Yeah, I'm trying to bring value to, all types of people watching. So in this video, I'm going to show you FL shortcuts to save a lot of time. So let's say your sample is off the grid a little bit. You can hit Shift Q to quantize it back to the grid for all the FL guys. Hit Alt to do anything nudge based, hit Alt. So Alt just means nudging stuff. So I can nudge or move this around in micro movements hitting Alt. Left click just does this regular snap to grid. What else? So yeah, so let's get this is a long loop, so I only need 8 bars. So I'm at 120. Now for some reason this isn't lining up to 120, so either they labeled it miscorrectly or I'm gonna reset it back. Okay, so it's a little. He's using like double notes. What are they called? A little flick. I forget what they're called. Like the double dotted notes. Okay, so that makes it a little tricky to the ear, but the background chord is in play. So we're gonna make this unique as a sample so that we only see this 8 bars. We don't see the rest of the song. Let's save this because we're gonna load this up in the Fruity Slicer again. Because there's so many moving parts, we wanna distract people from the fact that it has dotted notes over top of regular 4/4. It sounded like dotted notes to me. So double click, right click, open in Fruity Slicer again. And again, our go-to, slice to the beat. And now we can, well, I forgot to transpose my keyboard. So now we can play it at our own groove. And we're just hearing the slice per that, hearing the sample per that slice. So now we can play it at our own timing. And that will help the ear perceive stuff as 4/4 as opposed to 3/4 or any other time signature. Let's time stretch this out a little bit so it's a little more blurry. And there's a little click, so let's pull up the attack. Now for this sample, I want it to sound sampled. So let's pull this up 300 cents. 300 is that sweet range. Here's a little key. Here's like a music theory gem. I guess gem. It's weird me saying gem. Whenever you're in a minor key and you want to go up to what's called the relative major, just add 3 semitones to the root note. What that means is, for example, if I'm in A natural minor and I play all the white notes, where's my FL keys when you need it? Okay, so if I'm in A natural minor, which is all the white notes starting at A natural minor, to go from A natural minor to the relative major scale, you take the root note and count up 3 semitones. So 3 notes, 1, 2, 3. It takes you to C. You play the same notes, but just starting at that specific point. So now we're in C major. Now, if you want to go from a major to a minor, you do the opposite. So if you're in a major key and you want to go to the relative minor key, you subtract 3 semitones from the root note. So you go down 3, 1, 2, 3. Takes you back to A natural minor. You play the same notes. That's how you switch between scales. So I'm telling you that because the reason I'm pitching stuff up and down 300 cents is to change the perceived scale. So if the key is in minor, what was this? I forgot that quick. It was in a major scale. So I'm going to pitch this down 300 cents to make it feel like a minor scale. If it were a minor sample, I would pitch it up 300 to make it feel like a major scale. Okay, so that's why I'm doing that. Okay. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of play randomness because this sounds like a cinematic. So really any notes, because everything kind of sounds the same. 1, 2. Okay, I forgot that. Forgot that was in the background. Okay, let's do this one more again. 1, 2. Okay, so some notes I have longer than a beat, but it's all good. Let's hit Control Q. Here's some shortcuts. Control Q in the piano roll locks everything to the grid and it makes it bigger. Hit Control L to fill out any gaps. So for example, if your stuff looks like this, very gappy, hit Control L to fill out those gaps so you don't have to keep dragging stuff out. If your velocities are all different at the bottom, hit Alt and then left click to reset the velocity. I wish Ableton had this, or at least I don't know how to do it. Pardon me, in Ableton. That's why I love FL's piano roll. Hit Alt to reset the velocity. So right here, this is longer than 1 beat. So we need to replace it or... Okay, so with this sample, it's very low frequency. So let's pitch it up another octave. So we went down 3 plus 12. So that's what? 12 minus 3 is 9. So let's go plus 900 cents. And that will keep us in the relative minor. Sounds weird pitched up. So we're kind of stuck in a rut where it's a good low, but it's a little muddy. But let's hit Control L, send this to the mixer. Let's just chop out some of the lows. And I'm going to show you guys how to add music on top of a sample. So let's cut out the lows. Now let me show you the Drake effect real quick. Let's load up, it's called Decimort 2. And let's go to where it says Images Filter. This is what changes it into the Drake effect. I learned this from Sound Oracle. Just pull down your resample and it will chop out all the highs, but it also lowers the sample rate so it doesn't take as many pictures of the audio. It gives you a different texture basically. So it's not just a low pass filter. Now we just took it underwater to give it a Drake vibe. It just needs a little reverb. Okay, so now I want to add something on top because this is a very atmospheric-y type sound. So now I'm going to go in and figure out what to add on top. Now, hopefully Keyscape loads for me because sometimes my hard drive reads the samples. Sometimes it gets crazy. But let's pray that our brother Keyscape baptized in the sample. Let's load up Keyscape and go to the library. I like to start with grand piano. If you guys struggle with melody, go to stringed instruments, a guitar, piano. Piano's an actual stringed instrument. Under the hood of a piano, you have long strings. So a piano is a string instrument. So whenever you struggle with melodies, go strings, because the way we even created music was based on a string, dividing a string. So start there first if you struggle with melody. And the next step is figure out the key. Let's turn this down a little bit so I can hear. All right. Okay, it's a key I'm not familiar with, but it's all good because it's a lot of black notes. So once you have the key, with piano, I would also recommend what's called the sustain pedal, meaning you hold the, instead of me playing this, you know, your melody sounding like little kindergarten melodies, hold what's called a sustain pedal that plugs up to your MIDI controller. It just sounds more elegant that way. Because when you pluck a real string, it doesn't just stop unless you put your palm on the string. When you pluck a string, it keeps resonating, it keeps going. It doesn't just stop. So I'm trying to give you guys little quick things to make better melodies because this is why your melodies don't sound good. Okay, so let's go back. Let's add stuff on top of the piano. Oh, wrong note. I said all that and then played the wrong note starting off. Isn't that crazy? Gotta get used to this key. It's a weird key. Hit the wrong note at the end, but it's all good. So a simple technique is going up and down the scale. This looks convoluted, but all it is, if I hit Control L, these are the notes I'm playing. I'm just going up the scale. I'm coming down the scale. We can literally see, these are called motifs. So this shape right here, I'm repeating a pattern. Duh. I can't remember how it sounds, but it's a long note, 4 short notes, long note. I repeat that same motif over here. Long note, 4 short notes, long note. It's just changing where I am in the scale. It sounds like a Mixolydian scale. It sounds exotic. So I'm going up the scale, which is a simple technique for melody. That's one part of the melody. Then you have a second part to the melody called a motif. These motifs repeat patterns. So then we have the motif number 2. So your melody plays between 2 main things. And if we're talking counter melody, it's the same exact thing. They're just playing 2 different sets of motifs. Let's go all the way back to where we have the sustain. I'm thinking Rick Ross type. Oh, what else would he need? He would need like a ouch. Did he put his tag? Let me see. No, Bohr didn't put a tag in here, but it's all good. I remember days and the first thing is a little slow, so let's crank up the BPM. So sometimes you don't need more instruments, you just need to go faster. Let's crank it up to like 138-ish. It's a little fast. Okay. Style. Let's do drums and then we're gonna add brass on top.
When you bring it and you still on it. When you now is your real boy.
Okay, let's grab some 808s. Now I wouldn't trap it out, but I just don't have time to do like DJ Payne 1 drums with the live drums. It would take me too long. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do trap drums. We're gonna do Rick Ross type vibes. And we're gonna sample ourselves. So let me just fill in the drums first. Put the snare, now we're in double time. We're gonna put the snare on the 3 and the 7 count. If you don't know how to count music, it's okay. Every time the metronome hits, that's considered a beat, like a heartbeat. And just count it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. So you put the snare on the 3 and the 7 for trap. If you're going drill, you put the snare on the 3 and the 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's drill. If you want trap, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. And what else is there? Drill, trap. It's pretty much the basics. Okay. Now I have a little bouncy snare that helps me keep the rhythm without feeling like stop and go-ish. Tap, tap. Thank you, Gots for real. Thank you. Okay, let's keep rocking. We're only a little bit done. All right. Okay, let's grab the hi-hat. Now notice you're starting to see the same pattern. We're not overly working. Okay, now for the hi-hats, right-click, fill each 2 steps. Very simple. Just make sure it's in that pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Now you know why artists don't want kicks, because we don't really need a kick for this to be a vibe.
I'm in a
Okay, when you're doing the 808s also, you don't have to play the exact notes right away. Just play the rhythm of the 808. Dun, 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 boom, boom. We'll change the notes later. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm about my ends. I'm about my business. I'm about my boom.
Okay, so let's hit Alt-Q, quantize that. Thank you, thank you. Okay, now let's figure out the root note. We're not gonna obsess about the in-between notes. Let's hit Control up so we can hear the notes. Hear the tone. Now we're out of key. It should be dum dum dum. Hit Shift down to move notes up and down. Now it's a little pitchy, but let's hit Control down twice. With 808, you can't really hear. And don't be afraid to crank it up.
But I got lots of my cheese is stacking.
Okay, so Contact has great instruments, like organic instruments. So if you guys want, I have the complete, I'm doing a giveaway actually for Complete 13. And where is the brass? So we're looking for this one, slept on. It's called the Symphony Series Brass Ensemble. This has crazy big brass that people sleep on. So let's load this up. And this is gonna give us that big sound. It's hard to hear. So if you look at this chord, I'm really playing a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm playing a minor chord, but I'm playing the 5th in the root. The 5th in the root position. Okay, so I'm just playing it from the 3rd down to the 5th. You don't need to know what that means, but that's what I'm doing. This, and we're going to sample ourselves with the piano. So let's say you want it to still feel different. Let's hit Control Q to quantize any notes. I'm going to show you guys some high-level sound design stuff in FL. So highlight the things you want to combine. So in this case, I want to combine his sample with my piano and make it feel like it's one sample. Spitfire Audio. Oh yeah, they're freaking goats. Hit Control G to group this, and then right-click on track 1. Go to Consolidate from track start. Hit OK. Okay, I don't know why that was taken. I have no idea why that was taking so long. Let's try this again. And maybe because we're doing too much stuff on the stream, but let me do this one more time. All right, since it's player hating on us, what we're gonna do is do a workaround. We're gonna record it into Edison. This looks like it just froze up my whole daggone screen. Hold up, y'all. Oh, they're hating. I can't exit out of the screen. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna force FL out. Hopefully I saved. Let's pray to Lunch 77 that it saved. And we are gonna reload.
Yeah, shout out to the FL freeze. Because I certainly experienced this with my DAW, which is why I don't recommend that DAW to people.
My fault. It was a little temporary silence. My bad. A little dead air on the thing. Okay, so luckily we didn't crash everything. Okay. Oh, here's a Control N. That's a new one. Save as a new version in the case that you open up an old version and it has like corrupted whatever. Control N. Save it as you make dramatic changes. Thank God I saved it. Let's try this one more time. Maybe it was a little glitch because my CPU was going crazy. Hit Control G. Right click. Let's do this one more again. And if it doesn't work, they're hating on us. All right. Baby Lunch 77 saved us. Okay, there we go. Channel settings. Let's go to mode, stretch. Okay, so now we sampled ourselves. Now we can literally do the same exact thing that we did before. We can click the sample, right click, open it up in Fruity Slicer, and chop it the same exact way we did before. So I'm going to do that same technique. I'm just going to copy the MIDI to save time. Hit Control C and paste in this. We're going to mute the original. So now we have the same kind of chop sound that we got. Let me just draw it in. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mute this. So now it feels like we sampled the entire thing. It doesn't feel like I added anything to the sample. So the way you make your sample, the way you make your music feel like it's a part of the sample is give it the same processing. So now my piano is mixed in here. You can't even tell. Let's turn the brass down because it's way too loud. Now, if you want to go Nipsey, I'm doing a little too many explanations, but if you want to go Nipsey Hussle style, add a reverb directly to the sound. Or actually, let me show you a better, more advanced technique. Jason Joshua talks about pushing sounds to the back of a mix. So I'll show you guys how to do it real quick. Basically, you just need any early reflections reverb. So I'm going to load up I always mix these up. I think it's called Real Verb by UA. And you can use any reverb. This one's just really good. Is the piano muted? I sampled it we sampled it basically. Can't even tell mine's in there. Is it in there? I believe so. Dang it, was it muted the whole time? We grouped it and then we consolidated it. It should be in there. I don't have time to be checking. We'll go to wet level. We're going to turn up the mix level, and then turn down the late reflections of the reverb. So basically all we hear are the early reflections. Then we have to lower the size of the room. So now we're pushing the piano to the back. The more we increase the wet level, the more it gets pushed to the back. I'll exaggerate and I'll solo. So see how that piano feels like it's there, but it's like further away. So it doesn't eat up the entire mix. So if you have very like textural music like that, you can do that without EQing it and cutting it down. You can just push it to the back of the mix. So that's what I learned from Jason Joshua. Let's load up the T-Rex classic clipper. And I'll kind of finish this beat kind of quicker. So this needs like a hook or some type of Rick Ross idea. What I'll do is I'll let that piano breathe, even though I usually like to separate our sounds from the actual sample so it all feels like it's from one thing. But in this case, I wanted to feel like a solo instrument. Brass is kind of hit or miss. We'll turn it off for now, but that's where you get the brass from, that cinematic brass. Really, we could just hold this one note. I'm going to move faster because we still have one more loop to flip. It's going to hold D sharp all the way through for 4 bars. That's going to be our bass line, meaning B-A-S-E-L-I-N-E, not bass, B-A-S-S. Okay, then you go in, you add a flow, make sure it's in pocket. Now again, there's no standout element in this beat, so you have to go through and figure out what's the standout element going to be. Is it going to be like real instruments? It needs something though. It needs like strings or something, that one thing. But sometimes that one thing just comes over time. Most of the time you have to record that one thing as a real instrument. But let's just record in the style of Rick Ross. Huh.
Who the biggest? I just got a couple chains. Wing stops, I done bought a couple chains. Diamonds, they be blinging, that's just in the range. Came through, you know we riding in the range. 4G autos, that's the gang when you...
All right, so I can't think of any more bars. So
Yeah, but the Wingstop chain line.
You like the Wingstops? Pepper, what's it called? Lemon pepper.
Lemon pepper. I mean, I'm hungry right now, but I'm just talking about the line. The double entendre with the chain.
Hilarious. Thank you for acknowledging that. I was like, in my head, I was like, dang, that was kind of dope. Thank you. That was funny. So now we know the beat's a little slow.
Who the biggest? I just got a couple chains.
You know what it needs? And I'll move to the next beat. It needs like a dramatic string to go like, wow, something like that. So I'm gonna show you a secret library that I like. It's called Stradivari Violin. And we're gonna load up the Contact changed their whole like thing. So let me go back to the regular view, because this is confusing with the new view. So Stradivari Violin, where's it at? Stradivari Violin. So if you like drill, this is also a great library for drill. Stradivari Violin, here we go. And you have to change the mode. So go to where it says none, click on the little dots, go to where it says sustain, and then click on where it says portamento expression. So now what this means is, you can't really hear it. Turn this up. Even now, let me crank it even harder. Basically, it's pitch bending between the notes. Here go, wing, like that. It needs something like dramatic like that, like a portamento bend or a bowed type. Now, because my CPU is running super hard, I'm not gonna waste time trying to get that little accent, but that's all it needs is like a little thing to make it stand out.
Who the biggest? I just got a couple chains. Wing stops, I done bought a couple chains. Diamonds, they be blinging, that's just in the range. Came through, you know we...
But my CPU is crack-a-lacking, so we're gonna keep moving. All right, we got one more loop to flip before time is up, so let's open up a new project real quick.
Definitely want that expansion now.
My bad for the dead air, my bad. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna load up my mic. I appreciate you for even having me again. This is interesting talking to your guys over here on Twitch land. I barely get on Twitch, so I appreciate you introducing me to this side of the world. You guys are active in the chat. I appreciate it.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. The chat is very active.
All right, let's see who's gonna be lucky today. Let's see. I got to come up with something cool too. The person that we flip, I'm gonna do something to where y'all could get. I'm gonna tag you or something, showcase you. So this isn't just the end of it. Okay.